I've been trying to reach Mom and Dad for days. They'd set out on their dream vacation, navigating through the Caribbean's turquoise waters. I checked in with them every day. Everything was fine until it wasn't. One day, they didn't answer. No texts, no calls, just silence. I called the Coast Guard, my voice trembling as I explained their route through the Bermuda Triangle. They assured me it was probably just a signal issue, but agreed to initiate a search. Hours turned into days, and the pit in my stomach grew heavier. The search was relentless. Planes repeatedly flew over the vast expanse of ocean, and ships scoured the sea. Finally, their boat was found, bobbing gently on the waves, eerily undamaged. The odd stillness of the scene hit me as I boarded with the search team. Strangely, everything was in place. Mom's favorite novel opened up and face down on the table. Dad's fishing gear neatly arranged. Both life jackets on their hooks, and their half-finished breakfast still on the counter. But they were gone. Vanished without a trace. No signs of a struggle, no distress signals, no damage, just the quiet lapping of the sea. The Coast Guard conducted another sweep of the area, but it was as if the ocean had swallowed them whole. The official report offered no comfort, reason unknown. Days turned into weeks, and eventually the search was called off. Sadly, Mom and Dad have never been found. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, happens to be one of the most mysterious places on this planet. It's a good-sized chunk of water out in the Atlantic that's been scaring the shit out of folks for quite a while. Ships plowing through its choppy waters disappear without a trace. Planes routed above the waters blink off of radar screens, never to be seen again. Poof! The Bermuda Triangle is definitely one weird-ass place. The mysterious happenings have conjured up stories of supernatural interference, alien kidnappings, and an area somehow outside the normal bounds of physical reality. The Bermuda Triangle, it's said, is a haunted place. Of course, that's just one version of the story. The Bermuda Triangle is a section of the Atlantic that stretches from Miami to San Juan, Puerto Rico to Bermuda. It covers a whopping 500,000 square miles, nearly double the size of Texas. That being said, according to Naval History and Heritage Command, they've described the Bermuda Triangle as being even way bigger, cranking it up to as much as 1.5 million square miles. The Bermuda Triangle's depth varies. In some spots, it ain't very deep. But in others, like the Puerto Rico Trench, it's deeper than your mom can go. The Puerto Rico Trench reaches a depth of 27,493 feet deep, or 5 miles down at the Milwaukee depth, making it one of the deepest parts of the Atlantic Ocean. The Bermuda Triangle has a shitload of awesome aquatic features, including coral reefs, underwater shoals, and deep sea trenches. It's also home to a whole spectrum of marine life. This Twilight Zone-like place got its name from a February 1964 article in the magazine Argosy, or is it Argosy? I don't know, fuck it. The article titled "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle" linked together a few disappearances in the region. It didn't give any explanations for the occurrences. However, it did heavily emphasize the mysterious nature of the disappearances in the area. The ocean is a dangerous place after all. and it's not uncommon, even today, for things to go wrong. Safety is never a guarantee. I guess, not surprising, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't appear on any world maps, and the U.S. Board on Geographic Names doesn't recognize the Bermuda Triangle as an official region of the Atlantic Ocean. Of course not. That would validate all the weird shit going on. Although the exact number of ships and planes that have fallen victim to this otherworldly death trap is not known. Officially, folks are just going with more than 100 ships and airplanes have vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, but how many more? There's a lot of numbers that are more than 100. Know what I mean? The history of weird shit in this part of the Atlantic Ocean stretches back as far as Christopher Columbus. The explorer described seeing a strange fireball crash into the sea while he was traveling through the Bermuda Triangle in the 15th century. That could be a meteor. And wrote in his ship's log about erratic compass readings in the area. Well, that's weird as fuck. Many folks have disappeared under truly bizarre circumstances with no explanation. I put together 8 strange mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. Hang on tight, folks. These are off the charts. One of the most mysterious stories of shipwrecks, this ship is a saga in itself. Now, I realize the Mary Celeste was found drifting along just outside the Bermuda Triangle, but this story just reeks of Bermuda Triangle vibes. Moreover, one of the possible explanations of what happened to the Mary Celeste involves the Bermuda Triangle. Discovered on December 4, 1872, Captain David Morshouse of the ship Desgracia, or Desgracia, whatever, was alerted by a helmsman of a ship heading unsteadily toward them about 6 miles away. The ship's funky movements and the strange position of her sails led Morshouse to figure that something wasn't right. As they got close enough, he couldn't see anybody on deck, and he got no response to his signals. So he sent his first mate and second mate over to the Mary Celeste in the ship's boat to check it out. The pair confirmed that this was the Mary Celeste by the name on her stern. Reading is fundamental. They then climbed aboard and found the ship completely deserted. The sails were half-assed set, but in decent condition. The main hatch cover was secure. However, the hatches located at both the forward and rear storage areas of the ship were found open, their covers laying on the deck. The cargo, 1,600 barrels of raw alcohol, were mostly intact, except for a few broken ones. The ship's single lifeboat was missing. The housing of the ship's compass had shifted from its place, and its glass cover was smashed. There was about 3.5 feet of water in the hold, a good amount, but not enough to freak out about for a ship this size. A makeshift device for measuring the amount of water in the hold was found on the deck. The ship was undamaged and loaded with 6 months' worth of food and water. Everything was chill and spot on, except there was no crew. They must have had one hell of a party, because 9 of the barrels in the cargo were completely empty, and the captain's sword was lying on the deck. No trace of people aboard the vessel or the missing lifeboat has ever been found. Studies of the ship clearly ruled out the possibility of a pirate attack, since everything on the ship, including the barrels of alcohol it was transporting and the crew's valuable belongings, were intact. Theories surrounding the mystery of the Mary Celeste also included a criminal conspiracy, a mutiny, alien abduction, and an attack by a giant squid. The possibility of a natural disaster was also on the list. Many have said an undersea earthquake or sailing into a waterspout is behind the accident, while others suggested the ship accidentally stumbled into the Bermuda Triangle. However, as much as these theories seem pretty reasonable, they clearly don't make any sense. Well, except for the alien one. After all, why would a perfectly skilled crew on a good weather day with not a damn thing wrong with their ship abandon it and then never surface again? The schooner Ellen Austin embarked on a voyage from London to New York on December 5, 1880. In early 1881, while traversing the Bermuda Triangle, it encountered a drifting derelict ship. Captain Baker, keeping tabs of potential danger, ordered his crew to monitor the derelict for 2 days before approaching. After cautious observation, Captain Baker figured it was safe to investigate further. Accompanied by 4 crew members, he rowed towards the abandoned ship, prepared for confrontation. Upon boarding, they found no signs of violence. Instead, the ship appeared intact. Plenty of food and water, and lots of personal items strewn around, along with its cargo hold full of mahogany. However, crucial items such as the captain's logbook and the ship's nameplate were missing, along with the entire crew, suggesting a hasty evacuation. Undeterred, Captain Baker saw an opportunity for salvage and directed his crew to prepare the vessel for sail. In a few hours, he was ready to rock and roll. Initially, the journey went smoothly, with the 2 ships sailing along within earshot of each other. However, their fates took a sinister turn when a fierce Atlantic storm struck, separating them. Hours later, the Ellen Austin spotted the drifting vessel through the captain's spyglass, its erratic movements raising suspicions. Determined to seize the floating payday, Captain Baker ordered a course change to intercept the derelict. As they closed in, the crew noticed peculiar details. There was no crew on deck. In fact, the ship's appearance seemed unchanged, as if their first encounter had never even occurred. Upon boarding for the second time, Captain Baker and his crew found no trace of life. The cargo hold remained untouched. Essential supplies were undisturbed and never used, and bunks were still made and unslept in. Scared and confused by the inexplicable events, the crew debated the possibility of a curse, while Captain Baker remained focused on the money. Despite their apprehensions, Captain Baker eventually convinced a second crew to man the ship. As they prepared to depart, a dense fog engulfed the ocean and both ships, complicating their mission. Amidst the confusion, the derelict ship vanished once more, leaving the crew of the Ellen Austin to say, "Oh shit, not again." Ultimately, Captain Baker heeded his remaining crew's warnings and chose to abandon the cursed vessel, leaving behind a tale shrouded in maritime legend. The USS Cyclops, one of the largest ships in the U.S. Navy, disappeared without a trace. More than 100 years later, its fate still remains unknown. She has been sailing successfully since 1910, traveling between the Baltic Sea, the Caribbean, and Mexico. She assisted with moving coal around the world and helping refugees. But in 1917, when America entered World War I, the USS Cyclops became a key naval asset, transporting troops and coal to fuel other ships all over the world. An especially infamous tragedy that brought the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle to the forefront occurred in March 1918 when the USS Cyclops, a 542-foot-long U.S. Navy cargo ship with 306 crew and 10,973 tons of manganese ore, used for making steel, disappeared somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. It remains to this day the single largest loss of life in the history of the U.S. Navy, not directly involving combat. The captain of the USS Cyclops never sent a distress signal, and no one aboard responded to radio calls from other vessels in the vicinity. Hell, when they set sail, it was a pretty damn good day. The last known message from the ship simply said, "Weather fair, all well." The weather in the area where the Cyclops was scheduled to sail had not been bad enough to warrant the belief that the vessel foundered in a gale, the New York Times reported. If caught in a storm, radio distress calls could have been sent out. An extensive search of the area found no evidence of wreckage or crew. Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson later said. Since the U.S. has just entered World War I the year before, a lot of folks figured it must have been the Germans that sank it. Germany, both then and now, say they had nothing to do with the disappearance. Naval investigators also failed to find a definite cause for its disappearance. The U.S. Navy says in its official statement about the Cyclops, "The disappearance of this ship has been one of the most baffling mysteries in the annals of the Navy. All attempts to locate her have proved unsuccessful." On June 1, 1918, Assistant Director of the Navy, Franklin D. Roosevelt, declared the USS Cyclops to be officially lost and all hands deceased. Due to its mysterious disappearance, the USS Cyclops has become part of the list of ships and planes to have vanished under strange circumstances in the Bermuda Triangle. The USS Cyclops has 3 sister ships. 2 of those also mysteriously disappeared without a trace in the Bermuda Triangle. A pattern began forming in which vessels traversing the Bermuda Triangle would either disappear or be found abandoned. Was the ship eaten by some beast of the deep, carried off by UFOs, or simply swallowed by a storm? No one knows. Either way, the wreck of the Cyclops has never been found. The Carroll A. Deering was a magnificent 5-masted ship renowned for its sturdy construction and lavish amenities. Crafted from oak and mahogany, it boasted modern luxuries like a functioning bathroom, steam heating, and even electricity. Pretty bougie for a cargo ship of its time. Its reputation preceded it, making it a prized vessel among sailors and captains alike. In August 1920, Captain Merritt set sail from port with a crew of 10 men, predominantly Danish, bound for Brazil to deliver a cargo of coal. However, fate had other plans, as Captain Merritt got sick early on in the journey, forcing him to return to shore, accompanied by his son, the first mate. The unexpected departure of Captain Merritt left the ship's management company scrambling to find a replacement. Their solution came in the form of Willis B. Wormel, a seasoned seaman and retired captain known for his no-bullshit demeanor. Alongside him, Charles B. McClellan, a sailor of lesser experience, was appointed as his first mate. From the outset, tensions ran high between Wormel and McClellan. Their personalities clashed, made worse by the confined quarters of the ship. During a stop in Barbados in January 1921, Wormel voiced his concerns about McClellan's behavior to Captain Hugh Norton of another vessel.
"He's habitually drunk while ashore,"
Wormel confided.
"and he treats the men brutally when it's totally uncalled for."
Eerily, during this stopover, Wormel was approached by another captain who directly asked about the crew's potential for mutiny. While Wormel downplayed the risk, both men understood the precariousness of the situation. Meanwhile, McClellan's behavior escalated. Prior to their arrival in Barbados, he openly threatened Wormel, declaring,
"I'll kill you before it's over, old man."
McClellan's hostility continued on shore, where he openly disparaged Wormel at a local cafe, vowing to exact revenge before they reached Norfolk. In a twist of fate, Karma, McClellan's actions led to his arrest and he was put in the slammer. However, Wormel, perhaps naively, chose to believe in McClellan's remorse and bailed him out. On January 9, 1921, the Carroll A. Deering resumed its voyage with a tension-filled atmosphere hanging over the ship. Everyone sleeping with one eye open, if you know what I mean. Yet, by January 23rd, Wormel's handwriting mysteriously vanished from the ship's log, replaced by an unknown hand. Despite this, the ship continued its journey through the Bermuda Triangle, eventually crossing paths with a light ship on January 29th. The encounter raised alarms when a red-haired Scandinavian man aboard the Carroll A. Deering reported the loss of anchors and chains, a highly unusual circumstance. Moreover, the crew's relaxed demeanor, hanging out on the quarterdeck, raised suspicions. That part of the ship was usually reserved for the captain. This marked the beginning of the end for the Carroll A. Deering. Days later, on January 31, 1921, a Coast Guard patrol spotted the ship stranded on a shoal off Cape Hatteras, sails billowing in the wind as if abandoned in a hurry. Subsequent investigations revealed the entire crew had vanished into thin air. The ship's lifeboats, navigational equipment, and logbooks were missing as well. Eerily, there was prepared food found in the galley, as if the sailors were about to eat a meal before they made a hasty departure. And the only living thing found aboard the ship was a six-toed cat, and they named it Hemingway. Despite salvage attempts, foul weather and treacherous waters prevented the retrieval of the ship. By March 1921, the decision was made to dynamite the wreck, with its remnants eventually repurposed for house construction along the coast. The fate of the Carroll A. Deering and its crew remains one of the most freaky maritime mysteries told. Despite extensive investigations by the Coast Guard, the FBI, the Navy, and the Departments of the Treasury, Commerce, and Justice, and theories ranging from mutiny to piracy to supernatural forces, no conclusive explanation has ever been found. The enigma of the Carroll A. Deering endures as a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lurk within the depths of the Bermuda Triangle. On December 22, 1967, a cabin cruiser named Witchcraft left Miami with her captain Dan Burrick and his friend Father Patrick Horgan. The two gentlemen's journey on a 23-foot luxury yacht was to enjoy the wonderful view of Miami's Christmas lights. However, after reaching just 1 mile offshore, the Coast Guard received a call from the captain stating that his ship had hit something, but there was no substantial damage. Burrick advised he needed to be towed to the shore. The Coast Guard deployed immediately, reaching the Witchcraft's location in as little as 19 minutes, but found nothing. The area indicating the ship's coordinates was completely deserted, with no signs of any ship having been stranded or even there previously. What's most intriguing about this story is that this particular cruiser was virtually insinkable, not to mention numerous life-saving devices present on board, including life jackets, lifeboats, flares, and distress signal devices. None of them were used, and the ship was gone. The Coast Guard officials searched hundreds of square miles of the ocean over the next few days, but were unsuccessful. Nothing of this ship has been found to this day. The ship is gone, and what remains is only the speculation that can be done now. Other boats and planes have seemingly vanished from the area in good weather without even radioing distress messages. Unlike these other disappearances, the Great Isaac Lighthouse mystery is unique in that both lighthouse keepers were stationed on land when they vanished. a barren island, Great Isaac Rock already had a grim history. Local lore told of a ship that wrecked with no survivors, except for a single infant. First put into service in 1869, the lighthouse island housed only 2 inhabitants, its keepers. On August 4th, 1969, a small boat was launched to check on the men after routine calls had gone unanswered. Upon arrival, the investigators discovered that the island was empty and there was no sign of the 2 lighthouse keepers. The front door was shut and locked. A hurricane had passed near the island shortly before, but the lack of damage to the living quarters raised the question as to why these 2 experienced lighthouse keepers wouldn't have just stayed put, where it was safe until the storm passed. So, what the fuck happened? Some folks believe that the pair were caught in a drug smuggling ring. Others think they were kidnapped. But with no evidence of foul play to suggest anything sketchy, it can't be that. A popular theory is that the Bermuda Triangle had something to do with it. Just like ships' food stores and cargo being left intact, nothing was out of place in the lighthouse. The fate of both lighthouse keepers is still unknown. In December 1945, 5 Navy Avenger torpedo bombers carrying 14 men took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, Florida airfield in order to conduct practice bombing runs over some nearby shoals. U.S. Navy Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor was the flight leader. He had about 2,500 flight hours, most of them in this type of aircraft, so he knew his shit. After the mission was successfully completed, they started heading back. Suddenly, all of Flight 19's compasses started spinning and acting all wonky. In no time, they were severely lost. For some reason, when Taylor saw some small islands, he thought they were the Florida Keys and adjusted course in the exact wrong direction. Some of his crew protested and said they were going the wrong way. They were actually in the Atlantic Ocean heading out to sea. Convinced he was right, but needing a backup plan just in case, he told them to continue to follow him. He said, "When one of you gets down to 10 gallons, speak up and we'll all ditch together. We'll have a better chance of surviving and being spotted." All 5 planes flew aimlessly until they ran low on fuel and were forced to ditch at sea. Later that same day, a seaboat rescue plane and its 13-man crew took off from Fort Lauderdale to find the men. 14 minutes after takeoff, it disappeared off of radar and was gone. A massive weeks-long search was launched but failed to turn up any evidence. The official Navy report declared that it was as if they had flown to Mars. The report was later amended by the Navy to read, "Cause unknown." On May 15, 2017, at 2:10 p.m., a twin-engine turboprop aircraft with 4 on board went missing east of the Bahamas. The U.S. Coast Guard discovered debris from the plane. Nathan Ulrich, ex-husband of actress Rae Dawn Chong, daughter of Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong, was piloting the aircraft. It also carried Manhattan CEO Jennifer Blumman and her 2 young sons, 4 and 10 years old. The plane was en route from Puerto Rico to Titusville, Florida, when it vanished from radar approximately 37 miles east of the Bahamas. The plane was traveling at an altitude of 24,000 feet and a speed of 300 knots at the time it went poof. Radio contact was also lost. The U.S. Coast Guard dispatched 2 planes, a helicopter, and a cutter to completely cover the area. They discovered a debris field 15 miles east of Eleuthera, Bahamas. Unfortunately, no survivors were found. Given that this experienced pilot was cruising at high altitude, and had just had a routine exchange shortly before going missing without any distress call indicates a catastrophic emergency. No one on board was ever found and no cause of the crash was determined. The latest incident in the Bermuda Triangle is the disappearance of a small twin-engine plane on August 2023. The small plane, a Cessna 402, was reported leaving Fort Lauderdale-Hollywood International Airport. The aircraft, with one person on board, Pervez Khan, was last seen 17 miles west of Eleuthera Island, Bahamas. He's flown this route thousands of times for decades. His daughter said that if there's anyone who knows how to handle pressure in a difficult situation, that's my father. Coast Guard crews assisted the Royal Bahamas Defense Force in searching more than 5,000 square miles for over 20 hours before making the decision to suspend the search. Khan nor his plane were ever found. Numerous explanations, both natural and supernatural, have been proposed over the years. And the explanations for this Twilight Zone-like shit vary depending on which story you're talking about. I tried to put a few theories with each encounter, but overall the explanations are everything from alien abductions, underwater bases, power crystal energy, leftover technology from the lost city of Atlantis, a giant squid population, and a wormhole to a parallel universe. Whereas others have pointed to magnetic anomalies, water spouts, rogue waves up to 100 feet tall, Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, and huge eruptions of methane gas from the ocean floor. Like a sea fart. Still, others believe that the explanation lies in some sort of extremely rare and little known, yet perfectly natural, geological or hydrological explanation. Most likely, there's no single theory that's the answer to this mystery. Trying to find a common reason for every Bermuda Triangle disappearance is no more logical than trying to find a common reason for every car accident in California. And there you have it. 8 of the most baffling mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle that still leave us saying, what the fuck? Man, the Bermuda Triangle's no joke. It's got way too much weirdness going on. Whether you believe in the supernatural, suspect foul play, or just think it's all bullshit, the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the most extraordinary spots on our planet. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the abyss, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, so you never miss out on one of our adventures. What do y'all think is really happening in the Bermuda Triangle? Drop a comment below with your theories. Until next time, y'all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you for watching and listening until the very end. You kick total ass.